We're at a third fire in Israel and feel euphoric. I'm thrilled that our brother's nightmare is finally ending. We must not get confused. This does not mean there is peace. There can be no peace with radical groups like them as they seek Israel's destruction, not peace. But now, as Israel, we are in a superior position, militarily, strategically, and in terms of international relations. We are much better off, and that's why they threw in the towel. I'm going to tell you what changed. One wonders why Israel didn't make a deal months ago. They supposedly could have done it months ago. No, think about it. Donald Trump's plan a few months ago was even worse for Israel. It meant fully withdrawing from the Gaza Strip and releasing only some hostages. It was, a series of conditions that were not favorable, and the conflict continued precisely because of that. Now, the conditions are very favorable for Israel, not in the sense of the things that obviously Israel has to concede. Like releasing 2,000 of these psychopaths from prison who have Jewish blood on their hands, they had to let them go. But it's part of this, let's say, bitterness. Meanwhile, they also had to work toward one war goal, bringing the hostages home. It's true this has been done, but generally Israel doesn't fully leave the strip, only up to the yellow line. There are other things that are convenient for Israel, yes. So what changed between an agreement that was previously under the table and what we have now? What changed are two things that people didn't notice. The first is that Israel attacked Qatar. That's true. And in my opinion, no question, Israel really messed up, as they say in Colombia. That is, they're targeting the Hamas leadership, Jared, Mashal, and all of them. And they hit another group, which was the son of one of the Hamas leaders and another group of Hamas diplomats in Qatar. But the fact that Israel attacked in Qatar was something that changed the equation. Why? Until now, Hamas leaders thought they were safe in Qatar, allowing the war to continue indefinitely. Why? Because in any case, the sacrifices that the Hamas leaders made were over there, far away in the strip. People they don't care about. But the moment the bombs are at their doorstep in Qatar, right next to their mansion. Israel targeted Qatar's wealthiest area, knowing the sheikhs' mansions were there. When Israel dares to enter Qatar, despite Uncle Sam, who later obviously Donald Trump complains to Netanyahu, yeah, wink, wink, you know what. Israel warned, Trump warned, everyone warned each other, then Bibi apologizes, the diplomatic protocols that have to be followed. Israel conceding in Qatar changed the equation. I think, in my opinion, that's when Qatar said, whew, Israel, we saw that when they wanted to deal with Iran, in 12 days they finished with Iran. When they wanted to deal with Hezbollah, in a couple of months they finished with Hezbollah. But totally, with the Vipers and all that, they dealt with the Jews in just a few hours one Friday, eliminating the entire Jewish leadership. Similarly, when they wanted to handle these, I think Qatar said, well, I think it's time to really put an end to this because Qatar's not going to risk anymore. So that's what pushed it first. Second, the second factor, I think, is that Israel conquered Gaza City and the Gaza Strip during that time. There were two operations, Guidon Chariots 1 and Guidon Chariots 2. Guidon Chariots 1, in my view, it failed, but Guidon Chariots 2 succeeded. Why? Because the north of Gaza was conquered, and that also Hamas's stronghold besides Rafah was Gaza. So after Rafah fell, only Gaza remained to be recovered. It was completely conquered, and these were the two factors that Hamas mentioned. As it was time to make a hudna. A hudna is what Muslims do when they make agreements with non-Muslims, which are not peace agreements, but rather temporary peace. I'll give you a brief lesson on Islam. In Islam, there are no peace treaties with infidels. Who are the infidels? You, us, non-Muslims. When there are infidels who are in a superior position to Islam, Muslims find themselves needing to make peace agreements. It's a brief peace, and during this period, what matters is Islam, until it is in a position of superiority, cannot attack. But when they are in a position of military superiority, they can break the peace agreements. I'm going to tell you this. The historical context is that Muhammad, he was at war with a tribe that at one point, this tribe grew stronger than him, and Muhammad had to make peace. He tried to fight them, which refers to the peace of Hudaybiyah, so he couldn't conquer Hudaybiyah. And what he did is that when Hudaybiyah stopped being strong, because the men of Hudaybiyah, after a few months, went out to trade, because in the middle, in Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula works like this, that the economy is based on goods like caravans. When the men went out to protect the caravans, Muhammad broke the peace treaty he had made at Hudaybiyah. and he did what is called Taqiyya, which is when Muslims lie. So that's why in Islam there are no perpetual peace treaties. What there are temporary peace treaties. That's why Israel, we must be strong. Why? Consider the equation. If in Islam they make peace with the infidels who are strong, what should be done? Let the infidel be strong forever. So Israel, we have to be strong and militarily superior forever. We can't let this happen or allow situations like October 7th again. So they don't try to exterminate us. That's why that's not peace. It's exactly like the term ceasefire, meaning the fire stopped, but the desire to wipe out Israel didn't stop Israel. We have to do everything so that my son doesn't have to go through another October 7th. It might happen, it might not. Bezrat Hashem, may it not happen. I hope we've learned, but I doubt it. If we had learned our lesson, we would have gone all the way against Hamas, but we didn't. So, Bezrat Hashem, may it be so. Exactly. Taqiyya is when Muslims can lie to non-Muslims. Did you know that? That a Muslim can lie to you, and that's okay in Islam. In Islam, if lying benefits Islam, it's allowed. For example, here are some everyday situations. I'm not going to talk about the battlefield. For example, there's a concept called dawah, which is when Muslims want to convince proselytism. They want to persuade non-Muslims that Islam is superior. So they start telling Christians, don't you see that Christianity is idolatry? And the Muslim who does dawah, who does proselytism, says, don't you see that we also believe in Jesus and we also believe that he is the Messiah? That's a lie. They don't believe in the same Jesus. It's a distorted version of Christianity, unrelated to it. But they sell a much softer version of Islam to non-Muslims, and they tell them things like, and when the non-Muslim asks, hey, but what does Islam say about women? And they say, no, women are the most important. Islam is feminist. And they start saying a lot of things that aren't true, but they can lie. Why? Because that's convenient for Islam, and that's called taqiyya. What's the conclusion? It's written, don't rejoice when your enemy falls. So in the classic Western mindset, because of the type of theology they have, you would think it means no. Love your enemy. Don't rejoice when they fall. You should love and forgive them. And if you turn one cheek and they break your face, then turn the other cheek so they can finish breaking it. No, that's not what the Psalms mean. When it says not to rejoice when your enemy falls, it means that just because he fell, that doesn't mean you won. He could still be alive. The fact that he's on the ground doesn't mean you finished the job. But only when you make sure that not only has your enemy fallen, but that you've completely won, can you celebrate. For example, King David. Let me remind you of the scene where young David faces the giant Goliath, and David throws a stone at Goliath, hits his weak spot, and Goliath falls. No, the battle isn't over. What does David do now? Did he start celebrating? Hey, I won. Right there, Hamas fell. Iran fell. Hezbollah fell. No, that's when David celebrated. David, the first thing he did was take Goliath's sword and made sure to cut off his head. And that was the proof that he won. That's where the fight ended, when he rejoiced and the army of Israel grew stronger than the Philistines. So that's why the lesson is that we shouldn't underestimate the fact that there's a ceasefire. The fact that they are weak now as well. Hezbollah, the fact that now they are 50% of the Hezbollah army paraplegic because Vipers exploded in their pockets. That doesn't mean we should let our guard down. That doesn't mean the victory is complete. That's why the way, and that's also why the Psalms say, as I mentioned, strength leads to peace. And the Psalms say that Hashem, the God of Israel, will give strength to his people. That's why his people are blessed with peace. With strength comes peace. We can't let our guard down, just like with the Ayatollah's regime, which is the octopus's head. This whole war, Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis, those are just minor tentacles. The issue of Gaza could have ended a while ago. The minor tentacles can be dealt with, and it has been a strain because of international pressure and all that. But the head of the octopus is Iran. The ultimate struggle was Israel achieving those feats against Iran's military leadership in just 12 days. They took them and their nuclear scientists out in just 12 days. But Iran keeps replacing them. Their desire and radical regime to destroy Israel remain unchanged. That is the final proof.